Now, Serbian nationalists are calling for Belgrade to abandon its bid to join the European Union. They demonstrated outside the presidential palace in the capital on Friday after the EU delayed a decision on the country's accession. Serbia had been expected to gain candidate status after extraditing the last of several war crime suspects earlier this year, but the president says the bid will go ahead.
Serbia will not and cannot give up its European Union goal. Any other decision would have grave consequences for the lives of every citizen of this country. Serbia belongs to Europe, culturally, economically, politically. Because of that, any other solution would have complex consequences considering the nation's future.
Well, I'm joined on the set here now by the Serbian Foreign Minister, Vuk Jeremic. Vuk Jeremic, thank you for coming in today, for talking to us. Let me talk to you first about Serbia's bid for EU membership. It's now been announced, of course, that the bid's on hold and a decision will be made by the Council in February. The EU says, and I quote, it's worried about Serbia's commitment to shared objectives with Kosovo, but of course Serbia continues not to recognise Kosovo. I mean, you can't have it both ways, can you?
Well, there are countries in the European Union, they're members of the European Union who have the identical stance towards Kosovo like Serbia. 5 countries of the European Union have not recognized Kosovo, and they're saying they did not plan to do that in the future. So this is not really a common position inside the European Union. When it comes to the membership, when it comes to the process, European process of integration in the European Union, then just as the President said, our bid goes on. These days are not easy days in the European Union, and the process of enlargement is not really on the top of the European agenda. So I think that we need to put these things in the wider context of where the things are going in the European Union itself.
Okay, well, we'll come back to that in a second, but let's explore this issue of the membership, because the EU has basically said Serbia may obtain EU membership after confirmation that Serbia has continued to show what they call credible commitment and achieved further progress on good faith agreements with Kosovo. So let me ask you, what are those confidence-building measures, and is there any political will to do that? Because the Serbian President, Boris Tadic, emphasised that Serbia will not recognise Kosovo implicitly or explicitly.
Well, there's a process going on right now. There's a dialogue. There's an official dialogue between the two parties, between Serbia and Pristina. And I expect that this process is going to continue in the future. It's aimed at resolving technical issues that do not go into the respective parties' position and status of the territory, that are aimed at improving the lives of the citizens who live in the territory, bringing their normalcy back to the province. But when it comes to the actual issue of sovereignty, when it comes to whether or not Serbia recognizes Kosovo, President was crystal clear, and it's not just the President's position, it's the unified position of the entire nation. Serbia is not going to do that now nor in the future, no matter what other people are asking us to do.
One of the main obstacles to EU membership was removed in May when Belgrade arrested the war crime suspect Ratko Mladic. Since then, Serbia has extradited Goran Hadžić to The Hague. Let me ask you, has Serbia now drawn a line under the issue of the war crime story? Because that's been a significant stumbling block for Serbia, hasn't it?
Just to put the record straight, cooperation with the Hague Tribunal, that is the tribunal for the war crimes committed in the former Yugoslavia, was a commitment of the Serbian government outside the context of the EU integration. We did that, we cooperated, and we're going to continue cooperating because we believe this is the right thing to do. This is a necessary prerequisite for reconciliation in the Balkans. It hasn't helped us on our way to the EU.
When you thought it would?
No, I mean, we never believed it would. A lot of people were saying that this is going to somehow expedite our EU process. We knew that this was not going to happen, but we completed this nonetheless. It hasn't brought us any benefit in terms of getting closer to the EU, but then again, this was something that we were doing because we believed this was the right thing to do, and I still think that we were right in doing this.
Let's talk about the economic climate, both in Serbia and, of course, across the wider region of Europe. I mean, the Serbian economy hasn't grown in line with expectations. The Serbian Central Bank last month cut its growth expectations by a half, from, I think, 3.3% to about 1.5%. Yet Serbia, of course, as you say, still has aspirations to join the single currency. Isn't that a case, though, of jumping out of the the frying pan into the fire? I mean, given the worsening economic worries of Europe and the near collapse of the euro, why do you want to do this?
Well, as a matter of fact, Serbia's numbers are much better than most people's numbers in our part of the world, including
but these are your central bank's figures.
Well, still, yeah, they did cut it, and that puts us miles ahead of a number of other countries from our part of the world. And our continued bid to Europeanize the Balkans, to Europeanize Serbia and the rest of the Balkans, is primarily driven by our belief that reconciliation and the lasting stability can only be achieved in the context of the Europeanization, the way that, I don't know, France and Germany did it many, many decades ago. It's definitely not motivated by economy. Certainly it's not motivated by economy, given what the situation right now is in Europe, of course.
Okay, let me just get a final thought from you, Mr. Jeremic. I mean, internally, Serbia is still seeing a lot of tension between Serbs and Muslims. How's the government hoping to bridge that cultural and religious divide? I mean, how is Serbia addressing those problems?
Well, as a matter of fact, I think that this is going to be one of the strategic issues, one of the strategic challenges, not for Serbia only, but for our part of the Europe, because it has traditionally served as the bridge between the East and the West, and Serbia is home to many Muslims today, and actual reconciliation between the faiths and ethnicities, sometimes based on faiths in our part of the world, is one of the priorities of the Serbian government. And we reached out to our Muslim community in Serbia. This government actually made great strides in this regard. We also reached to the Muslim communities in neighboring countries, like in Bosnia. Our president led the way in reaching out. Our cooperation with The Hague was an integral part of our effort, and our ongoing improving of relations with Bosnia, for example, is something that we're going to stick to no matter what the future brings, and certainly in the context of this prolonged uncertainty, if you will, with regard to our future in the EU.
Okay, Vuk Jeremic, thank you very much indeed for coming in and talking to us. Thank you.